is a Fox News alert. At the top of the hour, 10 p.m. Top of the hour, Fox News alert, 500 people. This is Sean Hannity. Sean Hannity, man, he's on it. If you want to sit there and say Obama's got a narrative, no, Sean Hannity, you've got a narrative.
Let me ask you this.
And their narrative is what? Cops are good, and then everybody here is bad? You're missing the point, Sean. And then the guy seems like an okay guy. Let's see what he has to say.
He was shot by a civilian out there.
He was shot by the police.
How do you know that?
He was shot by, because they got eyewitness reports, and all that eyewitness reports.
It's mixed, so it's based on opinion.
Now, Megan said, had a guest at her show named Ryan, who said he heard the shot and immediately saw a young black man.
And we're not even talking about the incident. Let's talk about Keith Lamont Scott. That's what it is about. Keith Lamont Scott.
Are you worried about your own?
He shot him.
You believe the police shot him? You believe it was a rubber bullet?
I believe it was a real bullet.
And that's what we've heard, the two different versions. You've heard the version coming from the chief. He says there's no doubt in his mind that the evidence will show that Justin Carr was shot by a civilian out here. The version that the people believe out here on the street, Sean, is the rubber bullet, close range from the police.
You know, Mike, I guess if you can ask some of the other protesters there, you know, in this particular case, there's been a lot of talk about, okay, racial...
God, poor guy, man.
In this case...
Sean Hannity puts his poor guy... Fox News. Fox News has been raising up all this bigotry, racism. The rise of Donald Trump is because of Sean Hannity.
Of course. But, you know, is there any... Do they take into account at all that this was...
All of them, all 500 people.
Well, let me ask somebody here. Hey, buddy, you want to answer a couple of questions?
Sure.
The question from New York is, do you take into account the fact that everybody from the police chief to the man who was shot to the police officer who fired the shot, they were all black? Does that change your position at all?
No, I don't think it changes the...
Yeah, because it's the cops.
It has to do with... the training of police officers, and a lot of times the community, and myself included, we feel like the police, they don't have that long of a training. So it's a training issue. It's not so much of a black and white issue.
Go ahead, Sean.
Oh, that was a good answer. There you go, Sean.
It was not a... We have two distinct stories that have emerged here. If it turns out that Keith Lamont... If it turns out Keith Lamont Scott had a gun, does that make a difference to him?
If it turns out that Keith Lamont Scott had a gun, are you going to change your position? Does it make a difference to you?
No, because at the end of the day, from what I was told, is that he posed a threat. But I don't necessarily.
If he had a gun, clearly he posed a threat.
I mean, I don't know if that gun was on his head. I don't know if he pointed it at the cop. Even if he had a gun, I mean, he was waiting on his kids. So at the end of the day, I don't understand.
Why did it happen?
He lost his life. So
yeah, why did it even happen? Good point. Good job.
What does it mean by posing a?
Are you willing to wait for the investigation? Wait for all the evidence.
They should release the videotape.
When a black man kills a black man, he goes downtown for 2 years before he's found not guilty.
So you're saying you're not willing to wait for the investigation?
Get the video now.
Yeah, get the video now.
He says he's not willing to wait for the investigation, and his argument was, when a black man kills a black man, they'll take him down.
No, we need the video now. That's exactly right.
I want to follow up with that guy, because I think he's raising a pretty poignant point here, and that is that if you have a case where somebody has in fact a gun, is he not willing to wait for the full investigation to go forward? Why are people so quick to rush to judgment? Don't police deserve the presumption of innocence?
All right, the question from New York is, do police deserve the presumption of innocence?
No, they don't deserve the presumption of innocence when they commit a crime. They are still citizens. They are sworn citizens.
The question is, why aren't you willing to wait for the evidence?
Because they don't wait. When you are accused of a crime, they don't wait to take you downtown. They take you downtown, give you no bail, and wait for 2 years before you're found not guilty.
Right, right. Arrest him. Arrest him.
Take him downtown for 2 years.
Yeah, arrest him for 2 years. Right. Right. Criminal justice system. Hell yeah.
You know what? Don't you own a gun?
What if it turns out he had a gun?
You have the right to bear arms.
So what if it turns out he had a gun and he was a threat?
If he had a threat, if he was a threat, how can you? If he never shot the gun, you can't say it was a threat. You don't know what he's thinking.
What if he pointed the gun?
You don't know what he's thinking.
What if he pointed the gun, Mike?
What if he pointed the gun?
He didn't point the gun. They never said that.
Right, exactly. The cop said he didn't point the gun. Look at Sean.
Show the tape, and we can make show the tape. Why did he have?
You know, you hear that often out here, Sean. Show the tape. And the police officer says he is reluctant to show the tape. And these guys, what am I supposed to tape? And I want to be careful because obviously we got them riled up here to start chanting, show us the tape. And I want to be careful that we're not stoking the embers here, Sean.
No, I understand. All right, Mike Tobin, we'll get back to you throughout the night. Thank you so much. Joining us now with reaction, Fox News contributor, former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich. Speaker, I'd like your reaction to what you just heard there. When I just heard that.
Oh my God, that was amazing. Oh my God, Sean Hannity just got his ass handed to him. Did you all see that? Now we're gonna go talk to another old white curmudgeon, you know, in a station, sitting in a comfortable place where there's no threat, there's no danger, right? You're not out in public in a car waiting for your son to come home from school. No, Sean, you're such a brave man. And such a brave man sending that guy out there in the middle of 500 protesters and asking a lot of really serious questions. First of all, it was a black mayor, it was a black shooter, so is it a black and white thing? And the first guy answered a good question. He said, no, it wasn't about a race thing. It was about criminal justice, police reform, and prison reform. We even heard prison reform. That next guy, he got me excited, man. He was absolutely right. He said that if a black man kills another black man, he is arrested, and then they put him in jail, and then they keep him in jail until the trial. And then he says 2 years later. So that means if a black man kills another black man, he gets arrested, he's put in jail, and they hold him there for 2 years. 2 years before he even gets a chance to come out. And then is he coming out in shackles with an orange jumpsuit? He already looks the part. He already looks like the criminal, so go ahead and it's amazing how there's clearly a double standard. The police officer, he gets to shoot somebody, murder the man, and he gets a paid vacation. He is out there on the streets right now, getting taxpayer dollars, sitting in his home, making himself a sandwich. So, I don't think that's what Sean Hannity was going for. He acts like he's so superior. He goes, act like he had the point. Well, what if he was pointing the gun at him? The police chief already said that he wasn't pointing the gun. He wasn't pointing the gun. In fact, the police chief said the video doesn't show that there was a gun at all. The video, when you look at the video, you don't even see a gun. You don't see anything in his hands. He says it's indeterminate, or, you can't tell. And then that means he could have had a book. And were they even looking for a book at all? Or did they plant the gun and then take the book? Well, we don't know, do we? We don't have videotape, and none of the people that we trust are there. Nobody that's trustworthy was a part of this investigation, and that's the point. It's the white-collar mafia. That's what the police and the prosecutors and the judges, white-collar mafia, a bunch of wealthy, aristocratic people, and that's the reason why they got cops. The origins of the cops are two things, and I'll mention this, and then they got me excited too. The two major origins of the police are to catch the slaves. George Washington signed the Fugitive Slave Act. So if the slave runs off the plantation, you got the cops, you got the constables to go chase the slaves down and bring them back to the plantation. It was all about keeping slavery intact. That's what the U.S. Constitution was for. That's why we need a centralized government to protect the slave owners from losing their slaves. And then the other one is to break strikes. So anytime that the people that worked in the coal mines, that worked in the factories, unionized and struck, then they would always be the ones that would be opposed to the strikers. Make sure the strikers lose. So to break the strikes, the Pinkertons, they opened fire on the strikers. And then there was that Ludlow massacre, and there's lots of, violent strife when it came to labor organization. But essentially, if you're allowed to capitalize on, goods and services and using people's labor, then people who are using the labor, they can capitalize on their own labor too. And if they think that unionizing is the best way to get more money, more bang for their buck, more bang for their sweat, then they should be allowed to do it. So the origins of the police department itself comes out of breaking strikes and catching slaves. So, people talk about reform the police. I don't even know. I guess if there's a public, well, why not Minutemen, right? We can govern ourselves. Let's actually have a town hall democracy where we all get together, we all know one another, and we hire the people ourselves. We designate the people ourselves. I don't know. So So yeah, that was fun. Sean, what a pussy. Sean is such a pussy. He sends that guy out there in the middle of, 500 black protesters and asks him, well, it's not really a race thing, is this? And then he says, well, what if the video says he had a gun? Does that change? Okay, well, that doesn't change it. What if he was pointing the gun? If he was pointing the gun? Because, I mean, that's a good point. Like, if someone's pointing a gun at you, okay, yeah, that means he's about to shoot, right? But we've already know that it wasn't that. So he's talking about a hypothetical that isn't even reality. Sean Hannity isn't even talking about reality. So Sean Hannity doesn't have to live that life. Sean Hannity is a wealthy man. I'm sure the police always side with Sean Hannity. I'm sure he's good. And even if he wasn't good, he's got plenty of lawyers that would get him out. He wouldn't be in jail for no 2 years waiting for his jury trial to determine if he had murdered a man rightly or wrongly. This is the same one that defended George Zimmerman. This is the same people. They've been stoking these racist fears for quite some time. The rise of Donald Trump, I think, could be directly attributed to Fox News. So, R.I.P. Keith, Lamont Scott, and vote Jill Stein 2016.